Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Let's talk about domestic violence. Our jails are full of guys who've beat up their wives and their girlfriends. Domestic violence does go both ways. Guys just don't really report it very much. I mean, it's not in our nature to call the cops if we get our ass beat. And it's a very strange scenario for a guy to be in if he is being abused by his woman, but it does happen. I mean, it's kind of weird. I had always just assumed it was the other way around, because I have been around domestic violence. My dad used to beat my mother. I've been around it. I've never hit a woman, but I've grew up in a household where that was going on. I've known friends who've gotten mixed up in scenarios like that, but it's always been a guy, a guy hitting a chick. I had these neighbors that lived, this was 10 years ago, maybe 15, right when I first bought this house, and I had these neighbors that lived a couple houses down on the other side of the street, and the cops were always coming by their house. I mean, regularly, every few days, definitely every week, at least once or twice a week. I'm not up to any no good. But I will admit, and I talk about this in many of my videos, that I used to be a former criminal. One of my pet peeves is, I moved to this neighborhood because it's an incredibly safe, nice neighborhood. This is like Leave It to Beaver, suburbia, very nice area, no crime, very little activity. There's no gangs or nobody lurking. You go walk around here at night, nothing's going to happen to you. And I like it that way. And that's why I moved here. And I don't like seeing cops on the block. I moved away from the ghetto where there's helicopters and cops on horseback, cops on bicycles, cops on foot, cop cars. They have every goddamn form of transportation that they're patrolling you with, drones, cameras. I wanted to move to an area without that shit, and all of a sudden the fucking cops are on the block a couple times a week, so it was starting to piss me off. Why can't you handle your business? Why the fuck the cops always got to be there? And I knew it was a chick and a guy that was living there. And I just assumed, and the guy looked like a prison boy, and I just assumed he was beating her. So I would mean mug him when I would see him and just be like, you punk motherfucker. Mainly just because he is such a bitch. This is how he feels like he has to handle his relationship. He's not man enough to just leave. Not man enough to support himself, and he could just easily say, you know what, fuck this relationship. You're crazy. I'm out of here. I'll go get myself an apartment somewhere, whatever, start over, find a new chick. Screw you. I don't need you. That's what a real man would do, because you can support yourself. You got a job. You got money. You got survival skills. Fuck out of here. I'll go find someone better. Someone treat me better. That's what any real man would do, and this guy's going to stay with her and beat her. What, the dominator? Some little punk. It's just punk shit, man. It pisses me off. And again, maybe I get triggered because I grew up with this stuff, watching my dad beat my mom. I don't like guys who hit women. One day I saw him with his rucksack. He had his duffel bag. I thought maybe he was going to the laundry. There's a laundromat up here. Maybe his machine's broke. Most people around here have laundry machines in their garage. But they got a laundromat a couple blocks away. I thought maybe that's where he was going. He flags me down as I was driving by in the truck. And I was like, what the fuck does this guy want? I'm not going to bite his head off, but I don't like this motherfucker. Because I just assumed that he's got these cops coming by here and he's beating his old lady. He gets in the car and he's like, I need a ride to the bus station. I'm going to the Greyhound station. Can you give me a ride? I'll give you $10. And I was just like, all right, I'll give you a ride. I don't need your money. We didn't even get off the block. We didn't even turn to the next street yet. And I was on his ass and was just like, what, motherfucker, what is up with you? What's your fucking deal? You're beating this chick all the time. You got the cops up on the block 3 times a week, motherfucker. Why can't you figure out how to have no cops on the block? And I was on him, and he was intimidated by me. I'm much more aggressive than him. I don't care how much prison time you did. You ain't no badass to me. I'll break your little fucking neck. So, this is how I was treating him. And he was just like, whoa, dude, she beats me. He's like, just the other night, here's a prime example. He's like, just the other night, I'm making her dinner. I'm making dinner. And I'm just sitting there cooking away, making up a great dinner. And out of nowhere, bam, she hits me over the top of the head with a full beer. Just smashes me in the head. This is the story this guy's telling. And he's like, shit like that happens all the time. But what am I supposed to do? He's like, I could break her neck, but I call the cops. What else are you supposed to do, right? The cops never do anything because it's a guy getting abused by a woman. I felt bad for him all of a sudden. I was ready to knock his teeth out and teach him a lesson, right? I felt bad for him. I was just like, man. And he's like, I'm going to the Greyhound station. I'm out of here. And I was just like, good for you. And that's a lesson that a lot of people need to learn, especially women. If you're in a bad relationship, if you're in an abusive relationship, just let's set aside the beatings for a second, just because abuse starts before that. If you're in an abusive relationship, you need to leave. If you're in a relationship where the spark has gone out, maybe you need to leave. Maybe that's a sign. Catch that shit way before it turns into black eyes and broken teeth and hospital visits, where you're trapped in the house and he keeps tabs on you and won't let you go in. Catch it way before that. As soon as that motherfucker starts acting a little bit weird. Oh, you're a little bit different today. You seem a little bit more pissed off or snappy. Well, as soon as you get a couple days in a row like that, start fucking going online and looking for another dude. Start figuring shit out. And another fucking point is that it's important to always be self-sufficient. This is a part of survival, a part of our own happiness, a part of taking care of ourselves and loving ourselves, is to always be able to be in charge of our own journey, to be the captain of our own ship, to be able to have enough money at all times to pay your own bills and your own rent. It's one thing if you guys want to double up and live in a better lifestyle than what you would normally be if you were living on your own as an individual. People do that. Couples do that. I've done that. But I always have enough money to just go get myself another apartment. I made that rule years ago. When I was younger, I was in a bad relationship, and it wasn't abusive, but it was definitely a bad relationship. And I went homeless. I was stuck with her because I couldn't survive. What does that make me, a gold digger? It just makes me some kind of chump? Stuck in some relationship, living with some chick, and my only option is to go sleep in my car because I can't seem to support myself or survive. I'm just going through some hard times right now. And that just kept going on for me. I mean, I don't look bad upon going homeless. I needed to fall that far to teach me, a few lessons. But it's important, and I stress it, to be able to take care of yourself, because when it comes time to leave, if you ever have to be in that position where you're in a bad relationship and it's time to go, and that spark comes into your head and you're like, fuck this dude, fuck this motherfucker, fuck this chick, fuck this living situation, this ain't worth it no more. I know what it's like to squash those urges with that sorry ass fucking song of, well, what am I gonna do? I'll just go live in the streets, I guess I'll stay here. And just take it. You end up getting brainwashed, thinking that it's your own fault. Your whole you crumble as an individual. You lose who you are. You don't want to fucking go that route. You want to start recognizing these signs and signals early. I mean, once the abuse comes in and it gets too heavy, even before it gets to be violence, you're already chiseling in trauma into your psyche. Shit you're going to have to deal with for years. And we can navigate our lives and start to catch this a little bit sooner. That's what I've tried to do for myself. third aspect of this is to be able to really have a high sense of self-worth and to realize that you deserve the best. You deserve the best relationships, the best partners. Don't settle for some loser, some angry person, somebody who's abusive, somebody who insults you. You know, you have a high sense of self-worth, and it's important to develop that if you don't already have it, and to cherish that. Put your self-worth in front of everything, because you know, you matter. Your needs matter. What you want matters. Your feelings matter. Your happiness matters. You deserve to be recognized. You deserve to be loved, appreciated, all those things. And if you're not going to get it in a relationship, then bounce. And the added aspect to that is to be able to, with self-worth, is to be able to provide this for ourselves. So we're not in a relationship in order to gain a second half, in order to complete ourselves. We're not in a relationship in order to have somebody be our crutch because we're so weak and we need help. We're in a relationship because we think that that person makes us a better person, and we admire them and we love them and we want to be around them. You know, real basic stuff. You don't want to let your survival, you know, hinge upon somebody else. You don't want to let your sense of self-worth and your validation come from somebody else. They're always going to be feeding you. This is how these relationships starts, where you get a guy who's abusive, or a person, because it happens with women too, a person who's abusive, and then they come around the next day, the next morning, or later that night, and they're sweethearts. And you ask somebody, well, why don't you leave him? Why don't you leave him? And I've asked women this, why don't you leave that motherfucker? And they always say, oh, he's a good person, defending him. He has so much love in him. He just has problems. I push his buttons, trying to flip it back on themselves, like if it's that they have something wrong with themselves. These are all signs. You could catch that shit early, have a high sense of self-worth. Get out of these bad relationships. Vow to yourself. You know, I made a vow. I like to make vows. I made a vow, and that's important because it's a promise, it's a pact, an oath. Something you know if you break that you fucked up, man. I fucked up. I made a vow, I broke that promise. I made a vow. Make one to yourself. I will never be in another bad relationship ever again in my life. Promise that to yourself. Thanks for watching.